Hey everyone, Superfish here. Today is going to be a tutorial with programming your Apex for heater and chiller outlets. Now as you can see, if you log into your dashboard, you're going to have the usual stuff. You've got your temp reading, pH, if you've got a pH probe, and your energy bar amps right here. I have two, so that's why there are two graphs and two separate amps there. Then of course in the middle you're going to have all your different outlets, and you might have them named differently, but I think you'll get the point. If you are still a little confused on how to program outlets and profiles, I recommend you check out my other video. It's about programming Kessil lights to your Apex, and it has all the different profiles and outlets and the programming involved in that. It's a little complex when you first get into it, but you'll be able to pick it up really easily, and I believe Apex now makes it even easier with some kind of lighting wizard and other stuff like that, but I like to do mine manually. So let's get into it. So you can see I have three important outlets that we're going to talk about. First is going to be my heater, next is going to be my chiller, and third is going to be my chiller pump, which we'll talk about after these two. Now if you look over here, these are the settings for my heater, and you can access your configuration just by clicking that little gear icon. So I just copied and pasted what I have in here over to a notepad, so it's easier to read, and I'll put that in the description as well if you want to use this profile. But basically the nuts and bolts are simple. You want your heater to kick on at a certain point and then kick off at a certain point, and you want your chiller to do the same. The trick is you don't want them to overlap. And I'll give you an example of in just a second. So you see my heater, it kicks on at 77 degrees and it turns off at 79 degrees. This last one is just kind of a fail-safe. A lot of times when heaters fail and malfunction, their thermostat goes bad. So their thermostat will read a unrealistic cooler temperature, which will keep the heater on and could fry your fish in your tank because it will just keep running. So this is a fail-safe. If for whatever reason the temperature drops down to 70, in this case this reads it from the probe that Apex has. I don't know if the probe will malfunction like a heater does, but I just have it in there because, well, a lot of other people have it in there, so I figured better safe than sorry. So heater on at 77, heater off at 79. Now let's look at the chiller. The chiller is going to kick on at 80 degrees, and it's going to turn off at 78.3. So as you can see, when the chiller cools down the water to that 78, it's nowhere near where the heater is. It's about 1.3 degrees warmer than what would require the heater to kick on. So you basically want to set this up so these two components are not fighting each other. If I had this heater kick on at 78 degrees, chances are as soon as my chiller cooled down the water, the heater might kick on and kick it on to 79 degrees, and then 1 degree later my chiller is going to go on, and so on and so on and so on. And out here in Vegas we get a few months out of the year where there are some pretty big temperature swings in regards to day and night. So when I do have both of these on, as you can see it's winter here, so I just have my chiller off completely. But a lot of times in early summer and late summer, there are times where I need that chiller to be on during the day, and then the heaters are going to be on during the night. Now let's go over to the chiller pump, because this is interesting. Most chillers do not come with built-in pumps, so you're going to end up having a separate pump programmed to a separate outlet, and this pump is obviously going to pump water through your chiller and back into your sump or wherever you want that cold water to go. A couple important things for this. One, this setting allows the pump to kind of recirculate the water even when the chiller is not on, and this just helps prevent water becoming stagnant inside of the chiller. So throw something like this in. I believe this goes on every 4 hours. It will kick on, circulate water for 5 minutes, and then turn off. Obviously, when the chiller kicks on due to an 80-degree temp, this pump will kick on. Now, when the chiller hits its off temperature, 78.3, this pump will remain active for another 5 minutes, and that just allows you to flush out all the cold water from the chiller. It's just more of an efficiency thing, if anything. Now, these two last switches here, these are very important. That unfortunately, I wish I would have discovered these about 8 months ago. These are leak detector switches, and Apex has some of these leak detectors. They're very cheap. If you're paranoid or have a nice floor like I do, I would recommend getting some of these. I did make the mistake of not having them, and I was actually redoing my flooring, and I had disconnected my chiller from the hoses and forgot to turn this pump off, and to my delight, it kicked on this pump as it normally does for 5 minutes when I was at the hardware store, and it drained about 15 gallons onto some freshly laid floor, and I had to rip it up and start it over again. So with that disaster in mind, as soon as these detectors come in contact with water, they will shut off this pump as well as my main return pump and my skimmer, and they will notify me. I get an alarm on my text and email. So they're a good thing to have. I think they're pretty cheap. I think they were 30 bucks each. I bought 2 of them. A really good peace of mind. I would recommend just getting a couple if you have a few bucks to burn. But other than that, that is how I set up my heater and chiller. Like I said, it's winter here, so my chiller is not going to turn on for a while. Obviously in the summer here in Vegas, chiller goes on quite a bit. And a fun fact, my 1/4 horsepower chiller actually draws less amps than my heaters. As you can see, when my heaters are on, both of them, they're 300 watts apiece. They draw, or they bump it up to 6.6, so what is that, about 4.4 amps. My chiller draws about 2.5 to 3 amps, if I recall correctly, so it's pretty interesting to think about it. Because my chiller is quite large, I would have thought it would definitely draw more power than the heaters. So that's it. If you have any other questions, please feel free to leave a comment. I'm going to post these programs into the description. And again, to use these, you would just go into whatever outlet you have your component plugged into, hit the gear icon, and copy and paste. And that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.